All right. So I want you to tell me about that incubator. Tell me about that.
So the incubator is a membership community that came up completely organically. It's not like I woke up one day and said, I want to have a membership community. I'd already done that. I knew what I liked about running a community, what I didn't like about running a community. But what happened was I was curating these spaces for people in AI to get together and share their use cases, share their zones of genius. And we would inevitably get into these really deep conversations. And what arose was that all of a sudden, 95% of the people who were coming to these events were women. And then they started saying to me, like, hey, I was kind of thinking that you might be the person to bring us all together, where we can talk all the time. People were walking away from these conversations feeling unburdened, right? Feeling joyful, feeling like they had a better vision for their path forward in their AI journey. And so it just came organically that I was kind of like, well, why not me? Why don't I set up a membership community? And so we did, and we launched it just a few months ago. We're building right now. We brought in our beta users, and then we brought in our founding members. And we're still really figuring out what we want it to be. I knew that I could do the top-down thing for a membership community. I could decide and I could shape it and sculpt it and influence it to be kind of what I wanted. But what I really envision is it bubbling up from the members. What do we want this to be? Do we want to steer it over here? Do we want to steer it over there? And then 6 months from now, we'll have our groove. And right now, the people who are in it are helping us shape it. And it is dope. The women who are in the membership are like, they are all so, I always say there are 3 things you need in order to be successful in AI. One is a curious mind. The other is a willingness to be vulnerable. And the third one is a community. And sometimes I take that a step further and say friendships.
There you go.
When women establish friendships, right, they're inherently mutually rewarding. They're rewarding for the sake of just they exist, and therefore they're rewarding. And now we're able to say, I know you, I like you, and I trust you. I want to hang out with you, and I want to build a business with you. I want to create an offer with you. I want to create a little digital download with you. Let's partner on our, ChatGPT ebook. You come on my podcast, I'll come on your podcast. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Oh, you need help naming your company? Let's sit down and work on your branding together, because why not? And it's just this beautiful sharing in a space where it's like balm for our souls. We need space where we're not worried about how we are being perceived. And oftentimes, I think, particularly in anything that could be called tech, there's a being perceived by men that changes the dynamics for us. We are just on guard in a way that would be different if there weren't any dudes in the space. So that's what we created.
I am fascinated with the nuances of women taking that stance of ownership, leadership, putting themselves at the head of this table conversation. Because just by you shifting the word, I think I commented to you about this. It's like community versus friendship. One of them is incredibly supportive. The other one is, if in the wrong frame, if led sometimes by men, becomes transactional. I can't tell you how many podcasts that I've listened to, and it is still a very male dominated space where they talk about, you need to get yourself a community. You need to get yourself a community because it is a commodity in the conversation that they're having. And I was so grateful to hear you say, you got to get yourself some friends.
You got to get friends. And I think we all increasingly are needing AI. We need our therapists and our coaches to know what we are talking about as we're on our AI journeys, because it's so incredibly existential. It requires such a reservoir of empathy, both to give and receive it. It's an unbelievable energy shift. And we're all sitting around trying to therapize each other and help each other. We're doing really good work, but I'm like, I think the therapists are going to be busier than the patent and copyright attorneys, honestly.
That's been true since COVID.
True, true. Oh, yes, very, very good. Yes. But to your point, yeah, and with what you're doing with amplifying the voices of women in this space, I think, there are some seemingly small reasons why it's so important, but one of them is that our voices need amplification because the algorithms work against us. So if our voices are being projected through social media, for example, we have to remember that for every 100 impressions that we get, a guy is probably getting 200. Right? It's just because of inherent algorithmic bias. It's also because people tend to believe that men know what they're talking about more than women do. And if you put that in the tech space, all of a sudden people are very willing to engage with content from guys because they seem inherently credible, less willing to engage with women. And that spins up the algorithm. And now we're being diminished yet again in the tech space, which we don't have time for that anymore.
No, no. And I'm really curious what your journey has been, because you talked about, I mean, I'm a learner right now. I know you've said that yourself. You label yourself a learner. You have a background in fundraising expertise, higher education. What was your path towards AI? What was that like for you?
Such a good question, because everybody's coming into it from like the most interesting spaces and places, and tech is in a really easy, it's really easy to be like, oh, well, you start here and then you go here and then you grow and then you go to chemistry and then you go to pre-calc and then you do all this stuff and then you go to college in biology and then you are a tech person, right? You get your degree in computer science and then you can be in tech. The reason that ChatGPT got me by a chokehold was because I had just left my 25-year-long career to launch my own thing in October of 22. And I had COVID at that point. I was at the beginning of an 18-month-long journey with long COVID.
Oh, wow.
I had already been like really brain foggy for a couple of months when ChatGPT hit the scene. And I was wearing really tired of not being able to intellectually tackle things. And all of a sudden ChatGPT comes along and now I've got like this new brain, this second brain. And I immediately perceived all the benefits that we're going to, that the future would hold if we were enabled by generative AI. So it was my constant companion for the duration of my long COVID. And I could not have launched a successful business if it weren't for ChatGPT. So I just became addicted. And then as soon as I felt like I was the fifth grader to the fourth graders, I started teaching other people. And that was so juicy and so much like love and warmth and encouragement.
Yeah.
It just kind of blossomed from there.
I love that. Fifth grader to the fourth graders. And I want to talk about that because you're doing a mentorship program right now with the Fall Forward Boutique Bootcamp. Tell me about what inspired you to create that and move that forward.
The boot camps came about because I had been teaching people how to use the tools for, I don't know, a year and a half, and, trained like at the time, like 3,000 people how to use it. And I was like, this is really well and good. And I'm super happy that I've put the tools in the hands of all these people. And that makes me feel accomplished, like I'm making a difference in the world. But also, we don't really have ample space and time to talk about the incredible leadership opportunity and responsibility that comes along with AI and how this is impacting our identity and how our existing identities have an influence on our AI journey and the journey that we're having in our newfound leadership roles, right? Mm-hmm. And so my friend Rachel Kimber, who is an absolute powerhouse and a woman to absolutely get to know, like she is a phenom, Rachel Kimber. She and I, together with our respective gifts, endeavored to build a space where we could bring a dozen women together for a series of sessions over the course of a week, and we would explore identity and leadership and teach all the hard skills too. So when people leave our boot camp, they are, among the top probably 1 or 2% of content creators using AI. They know how to do strategy, research, data analysis, data visualization, making images, making videos. We teach them all of the tools, but all throughout, we're really talking about leadership and identity. It's very, very deep. It is amazing work. Love it.
Now, is that a small cohort that you take? So you're limiting it to 12? Did I hear you say 12?
10 or 12 people. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, our next one is in January. Our wait list is open for that. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's just evolving as time goes.
As time goes, I'll share that I think it's important for women to talk about money. I think that folks may perceive that if they launch a community and they do a bunch of courses, that that's the path to like building a sustainable business.
Yeah.
And I'm here to just put out for the world, that is one thing to do, and it's part of a successful business, particularly as an AI consultant, but it is not where you make your income. Like that's going to be part of your joy, part of how you are practicing and delivering your content and building relationships. And it's maybe a funnel for people to come in and then experience other things working with you. But I want folks to know that that is not what makes me have the powerhouse consultancy that I have. It's the work that I do as a consultant that brings in the revenue that I have now that I couldn't have imagined before AI hit the scene.
And that level of leadership, that level of involvement really seems to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it came about because you were just putting yourself in as a learner and saying, okay, I'm going to get my feet wet with this. And then I'm going to help those who are also interested in getting their feet wet with this.
Literally, that's exactly what it was. Like, hey, I'm going to help some other people. And then it just grew and it grew and it grew. I think I'm a pretty natural entrepreneur. So seeing those opportunities is a gift that I have, which is I'm very, very grateful for, and didn't even entirely know about it until I wasn't an employee anymore, right? Employee mode was, I'm working on a strategic plan that I may or may not have created, right? And it's got your blinders on. But AI is such a generalist, right? I love the breaking down of silos, right? Whether it's a horizontal or vertical, our ability to just work together across all of our differences, across all of our hierarchies, and all of that is so beautiful. And being able to see how you can move into one of these spaces and expand, right? And like really blossom and repot yourself, I think is like, I'm addicted to it.
Yeah. What do you see as being some of the common fears or misconceptions of the women that are coming into your Fall Forward boutique? What do you find yourself helping them work through consistently?
One of the consistent challenges that we all run into is feeling like you don't know enough. And we've certainly felt that in other areas of our lives, right? But you want to be on top of your game. You want to be seen and perceived as competent, and you want to feel and believe that you're competent. And in AI, there is no mastery. There are no experts. There are no benchmarks. So when we're in a group of other people where somebody has a more established track record, somebody else knows all the platforms, somebody else knows how to make mega prompts, you can sometimes think, well, I don't know enough. But then you show up in another space with people who don't know what an LLM is, right? People who, I even have run into people who don't know what ChatGPT is, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, this is a journey that I'm on. I am becoming, and becoming is the destination. That is the goal. The goal is becoming. So we talk a lot about imposter syndrome. People show up and say, I don't know enough, or I'm sorry, I don't know the name of that thing. It's like, don't be sorry. There are like 86,000 new AI apps. You don't need to remember whether it's Kriya or Kling or Kia or Kura or, Sarah. I mean, it doesn't matter. So the imposter syndrome happens. Another piece is, I think everybody is experiencing the gap between empowering a whole group of individual contributors, which is what most of the people in my community are. You can empower a group of individual contributors, and that's kind of like what all of us take for granted, that it's well within our power to do that. But what's very challenging as of now is, what do you do next? How do you facilitate enterprise-wide adoption? How does that actually work? Everyone wants a recipe for enterprise-wide adoption. And this is where, after we've spent all this time learning the technology, we have to shake that off and remember, this is people, process, and culture. It really, at this point, for enterprise-wide, it has very little to do with technology. It's all about change management. So people are saying, gosh, how do I talk to my boss about this? I'm worried that if my boss knows that I'm using it, that could be problematic. I want to use ChatGPT. I want to be able to do text to video for our e-newsletter. And I'm afraid to let anybody know that I know how to do that. I have an avatar, but I don't want to put it on social media because I don't want anyone to know that I have an avatar. They might think I'm weird. And so that friction that they feel back at their organizations, or, if they are entrepreneurs or small business owners, that they have with their clients. How do I take my understanding of my role in leadership and translate that to a broader application within an enterprise? That's what doesn't matter who you are or where you are. You could be in a Fortune 100 company. You could be a solopreneur. Taking what you know how to do and making it scale is a really big challenge. And that's where all of my clients are right now. We're working through that change management of enterprise-wide adoption. I think 2025 is going to be the year of all sorts of fits and starts with companies and nonprofits and small businesses trying to figure out how to apply this on a broader scale than just using ChatGPT, et cetera, themselves.
And you mentioned that there are a collection of women that are having this conversation with you. I think one of your main initiatives is She Leads AI, right? How do you really highlight women that can help people have these conversations from experience? How are you finding them? How are you identifying them and then putting them in the spotlight?
Thank you for asking about that. So I don't remember, there's a name for this phenomenon, but it's like, when you go buy a white car or something, then all of a sudden you start seeing white cars everywhere.
Yes. Yeah.
I just see women in AI everywhere now. Like, and the algorithms have figured me out, and so sending me that women in AI on TikTok. Yeah. So here's how I find people. I started with a few friends in AI, right? And I said, hey, who else do you know? Or, hey, I wanted to bring a group of like 5 women together. Can you invite a couple of your friends? Or looking and seeing who's commenting on somebody's post. And then all of a sudden you realize, wow, like I think I've got, I don't know, like 8,000 connections or 10,000 followers or something like that on LinkedIn. And now the people who I DM are, and who I'm in like a closer relationship with, are like half, women in AI. Like there is a lot of us out here. And once you get into that world, it just expands. So, listening, like your podcast, right? Your podcast is going to draw in guests that then people are going to be able to follow on social media. When they follow us on social media, then they're going to see our posts and they're going to see the people in the comments, right? They're going to go to events like Mia just had their global summit like a month ago. They're going to go to the Women in AI. Women in AI does a Saturday social on LinkedIn where people are chatting with each other in the comments. There are a number of us out here creating these kind of like, it's like a flywheel, right? Creating these little flywheels. So that is how I just basic networking. And I have never had an unpleasant experience with any woman in AI. I could ask the highest powered person, if they're not available, they'll just let me know they're not available. So we started organizing these quarterly roundtables for She Leads AI, and we'll bring like 4 or 5 like absolute rock star women to sit on a panel and invite a bunch of people. And it's a really, really beautiful event. And here's what I wanted to share that is so cool. I was apologizing to my last group that where we weren't in the business model yet to pay our speakers because we weren't charging anything, and it wasn't a revenue like there's just
right.
And they said, this is almost like makes me want to cry. They said, if you tried to pay me, there isn't any amount of money that you could pay me that would, make it worth my while to give up a Saturday. I did this because I want to be here. I want to be part of this. It's not about anything like that. And it was like, I actually would feel a little bit weird if you offered me, what, you're going to offer me like 500, 1,000, 10,000, like we can all get speaker fees, but that's not what it's about. It's about being together and creating a forum. No one has ever made me feel small, ever. These women are rock stars, and they reflect back to me the same kind of warmth and interest that I have in them. Amazing.
That is the difference between the transactional versus the supportive.
Yeah,
right there.
It's almost like when we start talking to one another, we're already kind of friends. We're a couple steps toward friendship already because we're unique. We're a bunch of little unicorns running around, and we're finding each other.
Girl, I'm ready for drinks and appetizers with you. Sign me up. I'm coming up. I'm in California. I can get to you.
Do it. I know. Talking about a girls' trip, talking about a mastermind where we pick a destination and we all meet there, and it's somewhere lovely and sunny, and maybe there's yoga, or maybe there's whitewater rafting, or maybe there's just, reading, who knows, but we have our time to talk and explore around AI. We learn from each other. This is the best learning I think that there is, actually. And, people are ready to start going places together. So I'll just put that out into the universe, girls' trip.
Because you have encapsulated what I love about this space is when you are willing to be vulnerable, be one of those first forward people, not that first is best, but that vulnerability of being okay with, I don't know, I'm going to try. I'm going to fail with people I feel safe to fail with. I'm going to create something that flops, and I'm going to be okay with it because I'm attempting.
Yes.
When you embrace that space, I think an aha comes with that, where it's like, wait a minute, I get to create whatever the hell I want. So if I get to create a moment like a retreat where we are, moving this forward by being right next to each other and creating things together, then that's what we get to do, because I begin to recognize as I fail forward, so aptly named, that I get to.
Yes. Oh my God. Isn't that so delicious? We get to make it up. There Absolutely. Are no benchmarks. Let's say you're trying to figure out how much to charge somebody.
Yeah.
You make it up right now. That is what happens. So when I'm negotiating with clients, it's, there are a bunch of factors that go into setting up your offer and your pricing, but what everyone else is charging is not one of those factors. It has nothing to do, because there isn't anyone else out here. I mean, there are people out here for sure, but there are no standards, no milestones or benchmarks. We get to do whatever we want to do. And what I've found in this space that I don't even understand why this is true, but the universe has spoken. I've been able to listen to the universe for the first time. And I think part of it is because I am efficient. I really get to where I'm going pretty fast now because my skills with the tools are really solid.
Mhm.
I have time to be quiet and listen, and the universe or whatever just kind of tells me what direction to go in. It's very obvious where to skate where the puck is going. And along the way, there are people who aren't going to come with you, which is so
Mhm.
awesome because they'll find another place.
Yeah.
They're not for us.
Yeah. Oh God, I want to sit with that for so long. It's just so nice to embrace that and just accept it, because I think so much of what we do as women is we take all the things. We have this responsibility, we have that responsibility, we have this person we're thinking of, we have that person we're thinking of. We are coordinating an entire unit, oftentimes, whether it be family or work.
Yeah.
We have all the things. And so I think one of the things I want to ask you is that how do we give women who might be considering AI, but they're thinking of it as, I can't take another thing? How do we give them 2 or 3 just really concrete ways that they can use this tool to help them not have to own and take care of all the things?
So I have a response to that there are folks out there who would disagree with me on this, but I firmly believe that the best way to adopt some amount of AI into one's life, well, intentionally, we have AI running everywhere in our lives, but
Yeah, it's there. We just
don't even know it. So I believe it's through use cases. I believe it's through solving a problem in your life. So you know how we are about, we don't want to feel pain and we also want to feel joy, but avoiding pain is like the biggest motivator, right? So an example that I would use for a use case for a woman who is like, I don't have time for one more thing. Okay, you don't need to do a whole one thing. Give me just like a little bit of a half a step. We will open up your refrigerator, take a picture of the inside of your refrigerator, open up your pantry, take a picture of your pantry. Tell ChatGPT, upload it to ChatGPT, which admittedly you need to know how to do that, but that can be taught in 1 minute. Ask ChatGPT, I don't have time to go to the store, or I don't want to go to the store, or you're thinking every time you step in the grocery store, it's $100, right? No matter if you get 4 things or 40. What can I make for dinner tonight with what I already have in my house? It's got to be gluten-free. My son is bringing the soccer team over, so it's got to be a lot of it, or it's got to be 5 ingredients or under, or 30 minutes or less, whatever, and have ChatGPT figure out what's for dinner. Now you're going to have a meal. You might have 30 minutes later on to play around with making images on DALL-E or Midjourney.
I love it.
Same thing for your closet, right? Take a picture of your closet, take a picture of your accessories. I'm going to a baby shower this weekend. It's at the Ritz, or it's at a bowling alley, or it's, what should I wear? And have ChatGPT choose your outfit for you, rather than spending how much time scrolling to find the outfit, or heaven forbid, going to an actual store. Even the time it takes to buy things online and send them back, we don't have time even for that, most of us, right? No. But you're thinking, okay, I want to look amazing. I want to look hot. I want to look accomplished. I want to do whatever. Have ChatGPT figure that out for you. Start finding those use cases where you just eke out a little bit more time. Prioritize those first. Like I like many people have, a story from when I was in 4th grade and an adult said something to me that then set me on a path. I had a teacher who told me that I would never be an artist. Well, she didn't know about AI. She didn't know that, 50-year-old Anne would find ChatGPT and Midjourney, and all of a sudden, all these creative ideas I had in my head could come out because my hands don't know how to make drawings, but my brain does. And my brain can work with AI to create beautiful images, and that is soothing to my soul. So now I get to do fun things. So it might be something that's fun, could be something that's like get an outfit, get your, get dinner, ask ChatGPT to help you plan a day trip for your family when everyone has a million different things, that criteria, that they have to have for their day trip.
Yeah.
Or here's another one. My neighbor, I should, my neighbor. I know. No.
Somebody I know.
I know. So my neighbor and I had a little thing because she went and bought a fence and then charged me for it. I didn't like the fence. I wouldn't have picked the fence, but she thought she would just do it. I was like, okay, cool, fine, whatever. But I felt some kind of way about it, but I definitely didn't want to have any kind of a rift with her. Like I love my neighbor and she's 90 years old, and I'm not going to have a rift over a few $100s or whatever. So I asked ChatGPT how I should approach it, because I knew that I would bring the wrong vibe into that conversation.
Yeah.
So I asked ChatGPT how I might approach this. The priority is my relationship, right? The priority is not the money. It's not about take the fence down. It's not who's right and who's wrong. But I do want to have a conversation about it because there are future projects that I don't want her to go taking steps on. So that can be an energy saver. So start thinking about how ChatGPT can help us preserve our very best energy. I started to think not about time, not about money, but our very best energy, because that's what's so precious. Because you can have a whole bunch of hours, but if you're burnt out, you're not bringing it, right?
Yeah.
You could have only a few minutes, but if you're bringing it, you're able to make the impact. So how do we preserve our very best energy? If you're up in the middle of the night about the volunteer board member who was a jerk and you're about it, I did it last night. I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning talking to ChatGPT so that I didn't pop off an email to, let's call him Walter. Those kind of you just eke out a little bit of extra space in your life, and then you do start to have time. You do.
Yeah. Yeah. That idea of a thought partner, I think, I don't know if we fully grasped what we sometimes don't have until you dump something in and you watch what comes back at you, whether it be ChatGPT or Claude, someone that I can pay $20 a month for. And now I don't even think anybody has to do that. I think now isn't the latest version completely free? I think I got taken.
Yeah, I always recommend to pay so that you get access to the new things, like Preview 01 isn't in the free.
Oh, that's true. That's
custom
true. There you go. But I have actually run experiments without adults' knowledge, so maybe it's not legal. Maybe I shouldn't talk about it on the podcast. But I will have a situation and I will go to my husband and I will say, you are not going to believe this. Here's the deal. And I will get that reaction, which was what I had before. I mean, he's the number one adult in my life, right? Because he's around the most. And so I'm going right to him. Or, I might go to a friend at work who has her own bias, because she's right there with me. And so I'm not 100% getting anything objective from either party. But if I throw it in to the AI, it's like a completely different experience. And I'm not looking at anything more than, here is an objective algorithm that is piecing together creatively what it thinks would be a valid response. And then I can respond with whatever I've got. I can tell it, I don't like that. This is what I like about it. This is what I don't. and it becomes this dialogue.
Isn't that remarkable? The opportunity for me not to kvetch sometimes to my husband because I can talk to ChatGPT about it is really beautiful. I really just want someone to hear me out a bit, and I want some problem solving, but not always the problem solved. I want to be able to iterate on it. I want to be in the experience of having the conversation, but I also don't want to trauma dump on anybody. I don't want to bum him out just because something's bugging me.
Right. Yeah.
I really love having that safe space, and it feels like it feels safe. And I think that we've just seen the tip of the iceberg with that. I think we're going to have, are you using advanced voice yet?
My son is dyslexic and he is absolutely in love with it. He will have conversations. He is this mad history buff. And
Ooh.
he will have these full blown history dialogue conversations because, there's not a lot of people in his world that are also history buffs. So he'll run through these scenarios with GPT and they'll go back and forth about what would have happened with what outcome. And I'm just like, you go with your bad self.
I mean, how beautiful that he now has somebody to talk to about that.
Right. I know more about history than I ever thought I would because I'm getting that, but I don't have the ability to come back with a scenario.
Right.
I can receive, but what he's doing with Chat GPT is he's taking this special type of expertise that he just loves, and he's got someone that can go back and forth with him on it. And I was like, oh my God, that's fantastic.
So amazing. What do you see? Like, what's on your horizon?
Actually, what I was going to ask you, what's next. I think for us, and I use us as the largest collective possible of women who are these learners first, forward thinkers with AI. I think for us, I would love to see us begin to have some forums.
Yes.
Where it's really collaborative conversations around thought leadership and AI.
Yep.
And what it can mean for us. I mean, what you and I are talking about today, we've talked about where we see it happening. I would love to take that on a global scale because I really do think women are primed to be learners first. And that's, I think, the best way to position ourselves with this.
So, vote of confidence. I believe absolutely that you have hit the nail on the head, and that you should absolutely do this, and that there is no time like the present, because one of my friends, Cindy Kuhn, who's another woman who would be phenomenal. She's amazing. She's a futurist. Cindy Kuhn. She talks about we all got to get our rafts built because other people are going to need to get on the raft.
Yes.
Right? We want to get our rafts built, our forums, our communities, our spaces, our friendships, our collaborations, our voices, frameworks, whatever. We have to get our rafts built because other people are going to need the rafts really soon. I mean that people are going to be very surprised how fast how AI and our lives accelerate. And one day things will be different and they won't have any intuition around what to do. And that's where we will be there for them. That's my vision, is that we will be there. We're just the fifth grader to the fourth graders, but we have a head start, right? We have time. And the faster that we build our rafts, the better off everybody else is going to be as well.
Well, I got a couple of planks you can borrow. We are going to do this.
We are going to do this. I'll share because I want women to know about the opportunity. Our consultancy is called Empowered Fundraiser Consulting and Coaching. The core of our business is always going to be fundraising, consulting, and professional development. We will never turn our back on that passion. Also, we now can layer AI into that, and we can work with clients who aren't as close to the nonprofit sector and maybe aren't doing fundraising, but they're doing marketing, they're doing science writing. Honestly, We're going into other industry verticals because
Okay.
we have subject matter expertise to build on. And what I want women to know is that if they want to be a consultant in the AI space, if they want to help people learn what their vulnerabilities are in an organization, like what their promise and peril is with their AI use cases, right? How likely are they to make a mistake? How likely they are to get some benefit out of it? If they're interested in doing that kind of work and doing training and helping people set up their governance structures, working with product managers and creating tools, the world is waiting for you. The world is waiting for you. Whatever industry you're in, they need you. So spend 6 months getting to know the tools and then put yourself out there. Our impact is incredible. And we are just 3 people. And we do the work of probably 6, 7, 10 people. And I did a post recently this year. So far this year, we've earned an extra $100,000 just from being able to take on additional work or do an additional project or whatever. We have not worked harder. We've not worked longer, nothing. It's like the money came out of the sky. There is so much money to be made by women as AI consultants. I cannot urge people enough. If they need money, want money, if they're all about impact, this is a way to dive in and make an impact. If they like teaching, if they like change management, this is a career path that I would love to see so many more women in and just thrive, lead and thrive.
Is a fantastic piece to sit and stay with. I love that because the possibilities are endless.
Make it whatever you want to be. You can say, I am an AI consultant to the, yarn making industry. I'm sure they have conferences where you can go and speak. And it just kind of happened on a whim. I had a few women who were just repotting and like, how did you do this? And I just tell them like, here are all the things. And I would always be happy. If there's anyone who's like, what's it like to be an AI consultant? I DM me, reach out, connect with me, whatever. I will tell you everything I know because I so want people to step into this space. Why not seize it?
I love it. I absolutely, you are a gift. This has been an absolutely fantastic conversation, and I want to have more conversations with you.
I want to have more conversations with you, and I want us to do the next thing. Like, let's do something new. Let's do something bold. Do something that we're not good at, right? If we want to, we could just do shit we're not good at.
I'm all about doing shit I'm not good at.
I mean, it's cool when you can take what you're good at and add AI to it. And I feel like I'm starting to like everything I just described is sort of that. It's like I took what I was really good at, I added AI to it. Now I have these superpowers, but I'm starting to dabble to see the next challenge of what can I do that I'm not good at? Where I try to do something that's scary because I'm not the credentialed, I don't have the track record or whatever. But then with AI, I might be able to do this thing really, really well. So I'm starting to dabble into that zone of like, I wonder what else
See, that's the gift. That's what I want to give everyone. If
Everyone.
everybody listening to this takes one piece, it's that we so often will put ourselves on pause, waiting for expertise. I've got to take another class. I've got to get another degree.
Yeah.
I actually had someone look at me once and say, "Why are you interviewing for that?" I'm sorry, because I know how to do it.
Yeah.
But you don't have the degree. So we are conditioned, I think, oftentimes by those around us to wait, get that expertise, get that authority, get whatever, fill in the blank. And I love what you just encapsulated. I want to do something I'm not good at. Why? Because I've got a partner. I've got a partner in AI that is judgment free. I've got a community of friends that are willing to partner with me, judgment free, because they're just like me. They want to try something.
Totally.
100%. That's it right there. Grab onto that.
Grab onto that and keep it like what you just said. It reminded me, oh, I can especially go for this thing because if I start getting like, not like I get scared or whatever, or something starts going south, I'll just ask my friends to help me. I'll just be like, so I bit off more than I could chew. Okay, now what? Get one of my many, many brilliant women who we're already pouring into each other anyway.
Yep.
We can just help each other. So yeah, I am so grateful to you for stepping up the way that you have. And I cannot wait to see what you're able to accomplish. It's going to be phenomenal. And I am so in your corner and I want to help in any way I can. So let's just like make that happen.
All right. And for everybody listening right now, I totally get Miss Murphy is not just saying that to me.
No,
I
I'm not.
fully and would love all of you to reach out to her. She is in your corner. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This was so nice.